You're watching the SCAC Player of the Week interviews. It's week 3 of the 2018 fall season. Today we are joined by the SCAC Men's Cross Country Runner of the Week, Senior John Hattan of the Southwestern University Pirates. And John, first of all, congratulations and thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for having me.
John, you and the rest of your cross-country teammates are coming off an impressive showing, finishing 9th out of 21 teams from across the division at the Rhodes College cross-country invite this past weekend. Take me through that meet. What went well for you and your teammates, and how much confidence do you gain from a showing like that in a big meet going into the rest of the season?
Well, I think we gained a lot of confidence just in the fact that a lot of those schools weren't even D3. A couple of them were D2, D1, and we were still able to pull 9th from that. So I was pretty impressed with my teammates. I think the heat got to us a little bit because we weren't expecting it to be as hot, so we didn't run maybe as well as we did, or as well as we were hoping. But in spite of that, I think we all did a great job, and it's just a sign of great things to come.
John, you mentioned the competition across the board at a big meet like that, Division I, Division II teams. Is that something that adds a little motivation when you toe the line, knowing there are guys at different levels, different divisions at the start of the race?
I think it definitely does. It's all the more incentive to kind of prove ourselves. Like, we are, in some cases, just as good or better than these D1 athletes, and it's really nice to kind of get out there and race on equal grounds. Yeah, I think in some cases it can be a little intimidating, but if you put the effort in, it can be all the more exhilarating.
For you individually, John, you were outstanding, finishing 17th overall and 6th among Division III runners out of 183 total runner field. You know, take me through your afternoon, or how were you able to be so successful out there on the course for the Pirates?
I think a lot of my success had to do with I hadn't run quite where I wanted to the last week, and I was kind of thinking in my head, you know, what were you doing last week? That's not you. You need to really focus. You need to really get out there this weekend. And I think I pushed myself maybe a little bit harder than I should have at some points. Coach came by. I was at the first mile in 5 minutes, and he kind of had this sound in his voice like, what are you doing? But aside from that, I think there was just more of a drive to really get out there, push myself personally, because I think I could have done better than I had been doing at the past few meets.
Again, you're watching the SCAC Player of the Week interviews. It's week 3 of the 2018 fall season. Today we're joined by the SCAC Men's Cross Country Runner of the Week, Senior John Hattan of the Southwestern University Pirates. And John, I mentioned in your senior season, what's it like to be a senior on this team, being a leader with this group? Expectations fairly high in Georgetown as you head into this season. Do you feel a sense of urgency being one of the senior leaders on this team?
To be honest, it's a little odd at times because it's the start of a lot of these new runners' seasons, but it's also the end of mine. So I'm kind of focusing, what do I want my legacy to be for this team? So I've been trying to push, maybe not so much verbally, because I think people need to discover this for themselves, but I've been pushing a lot of the younger runners to go and do all the prehab, push yourself as hard as you can in the workouts and the races, just as an example of what you need to be doing if you want to be really competitive at the future levels. Because I know a lot of these kids, they're coming in, they ran times I wouldn't dream of in high school, and I think I didn't really run all that well in high school, but I got to this point now. If they start and they adopt an attitude similar to what my coaches have been pushing on me and what my trainers have encouraged me to do, they could be absolutely phenomenal. And I think I'd rather see that than necessarily have the fastest times. Like, if they break the records, I will be ecstatic.
You know, we talk a lot about, between coaches and athletes, the idea of having a race plan going into a meet. This past weekend, John, 21 teams, 183 total runners. It's going to be about as big of a meet as you're going to see until you get into that championship portion of the season. Does your race strategy change when you have a big meet like this, coming off of a couple of smaller meets? What was different in terms of your competition and your strategy going into a big event like this past weekend?
I'd say in terms of individual, it's a lot easier to get caught up in a race like this because I know I went out very fast, and a lot of my teammates did too. A lot of them went out 5:20-ish pace, which is faster than their average mile by a long aside from one, but that's not important. So it's a lot easier to get kind of swept up in the competition of these things and really, I don't want to say overestimate your abilities, because a lot of them, or a lot of people probably can push themselves a bit further. I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. I guess in terms of the smaller meets, it's very easy to not go as hard or not push yourself as hard, because if you go out at 5-minute pace and everyone else is going 5:30, you look stupid, for lack of a better term. You look like you're going to crash and burn, or you look like you're delusional. Whereas at this meet, there were people probably 20 seconds ahead of where I was in the race, so it's very easy to be swept up, especially in the first few miles of it, and you kind of got to be more aware of that. You got to be more conscious of how easy it is to underestimate the competition.
And finally, John, you and the rest of your teammates now kind of at a midway breaking point in the season. 3 meets in, you've posted 2 top 5 finishes as a group. You're coming off a 9th place finish this past weekend at the Rhodes College Cross Country Invite, which is obviously a huge race across, with competition across multiple divisions, as we've talked about. Off of competition until the 6th of October. How important is this next couple of weeks? What does it look like for you and the rest of your teammates in terms of training at this point in the season to where when you get back into competition in October, this group is going to be ready to go? How do you take advantage of some time off from that competition trail?
I think it's going to be tough these next few weeks, just because we're not necessarily, we're going to be training as if we don't have a meet that Saturday. So we're going to be eating a lot more miles, as my coach put it. We're going to be pushing into more intense workouts, and I think as we start to get to the meet, we'll probably slow down a little bit, but it's a very big grind until then, and I know we can get through it, but it's not going to be fun in the middle of it. It's going to pay off, though.
A native of Georgetown, Texas, this week's SCAC Men's Cross Country Runner of the Week, Senior John Hattan of the Southwestern University Pirates. John, again, congratulations on your honor. Best of luck as you continue to march forward throughout your senior year.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.